In the heart of Africa, a chilling crisis is unfolding. It's a story of terror, violence, and haunting silence. In Mozambique, ISIS-aligned soldiers are wreaking havoc. Their mission? To instill fear and spread their ideology. The victims? Innocent Christians caught in their path. Reports are surfacing that these militants have beheaded countless individuals. Among them are Christians who simply wanted to practice their faith. Families are torn apart. Communities shattered. This isn't just a conflict, it's worse. It's a silent genocide.
In a shocking escalation of violence, at least 9 Christians have been killed in separate attacks by Islamist insurgents in Cabo Delgado province, northern Mozambique. The most brutal attack occurred on July 22nd when Islamic State Mozambique militants captured and beheaded 6 Christians from the village of Noctau in Anacube district. An additional 3 Christians were killed in separate assaults in Chiuri district on July 24th and 25th. International observers are reporting that ISIS-affiliated militants are carrying out brutal attacks on Christians in Central and Southern Africa, with some of the most horrifying incidents occurring in Mozambique. The Middle East Media Research Institute, MEMRI, a counter-terrorism think tank based in Washington, D.C., is warning of what it describes as a silent genocide targeting Christians. The Islamic State Mozambique province has recently released 20 photographs celebrating 4 separate assaults on Christian villages in the Chiuri district located in Mozambique's northern Cabo Delgado province.
Well, what we see in Africa today is a kind of silent genocide or silent, brutal, savage war that is occurring in the shadows and all too often ignored by the international community. We see rampaging jihadist groups from West Africa, and even in the south in Mozambique. So that's a tremendous challenge that we're seeing occurring now. The fact, for example, that jihadist groups are in a position to take over not 1, not 2, but several countries in Africa, take over the whole country or most of several countries, is dangerous. It's very dangerous for the national security of the United States, let alone the security of the poor people who are there, Christians or Muslims or whoever they are. The goal is eliminating Christian communities. Yes, completely. Basically, what these jihadist groups is they push down from safe havens that they have, and they want to eliminate all the Christians in that area, take that area over, and keep pushing, right? Keep pushing and pushing as far as they can go. And non-Christians, say the Muslim population, and these places have Muslim populations, are given a choice. Either join us or you too will face killing and annihilation. Christians, of course, are not going to be asked to join. Christians are going to be targeted and destroyed. Well, I'm no fan of the United Nations in general, but I think what they're doing is kind of the lowest common denominator. So a lot of people are being displaced by from X area, and people are being moved out for different reasons. So it's kind of easy to be vague like that. The fact that some of this and some of the worst of it is happening because of a deep anti-Christian animus, hatred of Christians, religiously based hatred of Christians, is something that the UN usually doesn't like to talk about. The jihadist ideology, of course, is not new. This is a challenge that we faced. We had, 9/11 more than over 20 years ago, 24 years ago. But the mindset, the ideology still exists. And it's kind of like a whack-a-mole situation where the Islamic State, for example, was kind of very strongly defeated in the Middle East. They had a pseudo-state the size of the United Kingdom between Syria and Iraq, and that was destroyed, especially during the first Trump administration. But they had branches, and so some of those branches have looked for weaker territory where they've flourished. So the mindset, this kind of aggressive ideological mindset, still exists. It needs to be challenged, obviously, in Arabic by Arabs and by Muslims, who can fight that ideological fight. And we should encourage them to do that. It also, sometimes people just have to be defeated and destroyed on the battlefield. And that's a way of sending a message. The jihadist message says, we will be victorious because Allah, because God has given us the victory. So the fact, for example, that they were utterly defeated in the Middle East is a powerful ideological message. What we need to see is them to be utterly defeated in Africa. So people will say, people on the sidelines or people on the fence will say, well, obviously these people did not have the mandate of Allah, the mandate of God. They were losers. They lost. That's what we need. I think the Trump administration has refreshingly been tough and strong when it comes to jihadist terrorism. But there's so much happening in that space that it's always a challenge to remind people that this is all going on in Africa as well, in somewhat in the shadows. And so we need to find and we need to encourage the international community in general, not just the United States, to work with partners in the region, to work in counterterrorism more, to help communities as much as we can in this fight, which occurs every day.
On this thing that happened in Mozambique, what was it that AOC said? Some people did some things. The mass ending of lives, the genocide, through horribly, horribly violent means. People can hear this, and they can actually respond by saying, it's difficult for me to care. It's so far away. This happens so often that people can kind of almost ignore it. It becomes a news item. And I'm really ashamed to say that when I first read about this, I read a headline in Fox News, just going through my quick show prep. Show prep often begins with Fox News and MSNBC and the Mockingbird media, and then I roll into my actual valued sources. Here's the headline. ISIS soldiers removed the heads of Christians in Mozambique, burning churches and homes, silent genocide. Islamic State officials and the affiliates are doing this. And read the headline verbatim. You can see it on the screen. And as I read that, I was a little horrified. Oh, they're doing it again in Mozambique. But to my shame, it wasn't the picture. I mean, this is one of the pictures. There's a lot worse ones you can grab. This is a picture of a church that's been burned down. It's the aftermath of this. And yeah, it caught my attention, and it's horrible. And the visions of what happened to these people is horrible, and their fellow Christians. And when the one part of the body of Christ hurts, we're all to hurt. You know that, right? Because we're one body, when the thumb hurts, the mind should hurt. When one member of the body of Christ has gone through this, we've all gone through it, or we should. But it's the reason that I ultimately ended up caring so much, and in fact being afraid, that's really shameful to me. Because I didn't just care. I didn't want to dig into the story. I actually had fear. Now, God tells us that we're not to have hearts of fear, for he did not give us hearts of fear. He gave hearts of bravery. We're to know that we stand in victory. We're to understand we are not to fear those who can harm the body, but only he who can harm the body and the soul. Only God can do that. I mean, you can give yourself to Satan, and in that case, you yourself have harmed your soul and harmed it forever. You can also accept the love of Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. In that case, all you've done is accepted a free gift. It's not something you can earn, but at least you can accept it. And it's on that topic, having accepted the gift, as to why I began to feel fear for this, even though I'm told not to fear. It was the images. It's not just now generic people. I know kids were unalived in this way. I know families were. But it's one face in particular that came to mind. And again, it's to my eternal shame, but images are very, very powerful things. The image of people standing for Christ, as they did, as they were unalived, as people refused to give up their faith, as they were unalived. Angel Studios has taken the movement involved in the book of Acts. This is after Jesus had gone to the cross. He'd been dead for 3 days. He rose again. After he'd returned to heaven, the same people who had been hiding out, scared, terrified of the technocratic religious authorities and the Romans, they came out in public and gave a public sermon to 5,000 men, probably 15,000 people. They put their lives at risk, and ultimately 11 of them were martyred. Not John. They just couldn't make death stick to John. The people at Angel Studios have taken that moment, the book of Acts, those acts, and they've transposed them into our time. We live in a surveillance state and we live in a censorship state. So watch as Peter and James and later Paul, and in fact, they write Mary into this, as they go and build Jesus' church. And ask yourself, are you willing to stand for Jesus when the whole world stands against you? Because the people in Mozambique did.